realizing that if we are to survive and compete again as a nation, we need everyone able to participate. He realized that we need to stop importing and paying intellectuals from other countries and start developing our own homegrown talents and compensating them. In other words, this country needs to change its wicked ways. As president, you decided to put together a secret special committee to formulate a strategy whose objective is to empower each participant with the ability to understand personal growth and professional development, while making the program self-generating like the Willie Lynch letter, but in reverse. This secret special committee tells the president that this is brilliant and ingenious idea, and they began to brainstorm and research the issue of how to rebuild the African American community and the poor from the ground up. However, the study also revealed that dismantling institutional oppression would take too long and the permanent government would not allow it. He told them to stay focused on the real issue of personal growth and professional development with a built-in funding apparatus that gets more powerful as they learn to work together to help each other to grow. The secret special committee continued to brainstorm. They raised a concern among themselves of how can you help a people who are so used to being deceived by being taken care of and not used to working together. How can they suddenly be convinced to change their ways? They will not get what we're trying to do because of the decades this government has practiced and fine-tuned by beating them down and driving them apart from one another. They will think that it was a scam because they are being taken care of without having to do anything and will not pay attention to what we're saying. The secret special committee continued to brainstorm. How do we keep these people from engaging in inappropriate behavior, such as their failure to appreciate education and their desire to go to prison because they see it as a rite of passage into manhood? The secret special committee, which is actually a reparations committee, jokingly reached the conclusion among themselves that being stupid is also a choice. The president being not amused. What would you do if you were president? How could you help a people who refuse to help themselves when we told them subtly that it was now okay to do so? Just like the bucket vendor. How can you convince them even when they clearly see but still do not believe? One of the committee members came up with the idea, let's just give each one of them a substantial amount of money. They all agreed that was a good idea. But the president disagreed and said to them, if you gave black people reparations on Friday, they would have spent it all by Monday. Just like winning the lottery and athletes who suddenly came into a large sum of money. They ended up broke. The president said we have to be more subtle than that. And it must appear that we are making the choice to pull themselves, they are making their own choice to pull themselves out of poverty. Besides, he reminded them, what happened to the Afghan army and their government when we withdrew our support? Yes, their government collapsed. Besides, we want black Americans and the poor to make a choice that will be enduring and last beyond my time in office. Besides, what the Afghan government didn't have is a mechanism of self-funding tied to the American economy. One of the special committee members whom they discovered by their negativity was a white supremacist in the permanent government, and the one who was saying that stupid is a choice too. Now, the president said, If you can't engage in meaningful dialogue, you can remove yourself from this committee. If you do that, she responded, I'll let middle-class Americans know what you're up to. Besides, my position helps you to see the flaws in what you're attempting. I'm just being the devil's advocate, that's all. You got the devil part right, one of the other members grumbled. The president answered this question. What would you do if you were president and asked to address the black wealth disparity in America? And he looked at the white supremacist special committee member and said to her, remaining stupid is not a viable choice. She responded, if you say so, Mr. President, we'll see. Okay, if I were president, I would start a special school similar to how the rich educate their children, each year sending them to summer camp. But this school is different because it will reward those who make progress through the program and then reach back to help others. The education will be self-liberating, and the economic incentive will empower them to rebuild themselves and their communities by sharing this program with their neighbors. We also know that only a few bright minds will be convinced at first, but the first will become the wealthiest. It's the Willie Lynch syndrome in reverse. Mr. President, what about the black person who believes education is a scam? This is the same black person that would say it's too black. First of all, the education will not put them into debt or their children either. And for those who have cognitive dissonance, we will have to target their children somehow, maybe on social media to bring this program into their homes. This will also benefit the doubter's family because it will benefit the child who will eventually grow up to be a blessing to the whole family. Mr. President, won't this approach divide the home? Yes, but desperate times require desperate measures. And you heard in a soft undertone, remaining stupid is also a choice. What would you do if you were president? How could you change a people who are used to being subsidized, used to cliches and slogans, and don't see the benefit of working hard to do something they already get for free? What would you do if you were president? What if you fired all the police and the inner city crime rate went up dramatically? Would you say screw oppression and racism and hire the police back and give them raises? You heard the soft voice saying, I told you, being stupid is a choice too. The president responded, you can just remove the police, and you cannot just remove the police and expect things to change when the underlying conditions which created the problem in the first place has not been dealt with. This is only white supremacist trickery, laying out more bait. Once again, the distant voice was heard saying, I told you, being stupid is a choice too. What would you do if you were president and wanted to abolish childhood poverty? So you gave tax breaks to all the low-income families with young children to buy computers, a bookshelf, and provided free internet service so children would have the latest technology in order to strengthen their minds. But instead, the miseducated and misguided parents bought them instead top-of-the-line iPhones and expensive designer clothes and shoes for the children instead, and did not concentrate on strengthening their child's intellectual capacity in order to compete in society. Their rationale was that they didn't do well in school themselves, so they don't expect their children to do well either. Besides, my preacher told me that the world is going to end soon anyway, so I got to get mine now while I can. The voice was heard saying, like I said, being stupid is a choice too. What would you do if you were president and you wanted to eradicate black poverty? If I were president and wanted to change the hood, I would give black people a copy of the Willie Lynch letter and quote Malcolm X, who told us that the revolution would not be televised because it would take place in the mind. The secret Presidential Committee on Reparations finally came up with a solid program that could lift black Americans and the poor out of poverty and could be self-fulfilling for generations to come, just like the Willie Lynch letter in reverse. But they would have to keep it growing among themselves without government support. If not, the program would only be politicized and white Americans in government would defund and kill the program. So, how do we get black Americans to fully invest in themselves without government funding or support? The secret Special Committee on Reparations presented this program to the president. It said, we would create a very affordable educational program that would create new millionaires every year or much sooner, depending on their energy, effort, and enthusiasm, investing in themselves and others to change their poverty mindset and condition for good. The question was raised, should we make it mandatory for them to improve themselves? The president responded, unfortunately, we cannot do that because it would have to be seen as their choice. If it was to work and become a self-fulfilling movement in personal choice, let me say this, that any person in their right mind would make this program mandatory in the uplifting of their family units. They should also structure their family reunions around this educational movement, whether they graduated college, high school, trade school, or never graduated or just got out of being incarcerated. The white supremacy panel member said once again, stupid is a choice too. She said, Mr. President, wait a minute. What about having a hip-hop party to get their attention? The president smiled because he knew she was trying to be humorous and responded, good idea. Everyone loves a good party, even you. We'll throw a party at their graduation ceremony. Besides, they will be able to earn enough money to get out of debt and create a continuous opportunity for themselves to invest and start up businesses during enrollment and after graduation for the purpose of creating generational wealth and being able to train future generations. We will name it Boardwalk School of Economics, which will provide an orientation to help them to get their focus and headed in the right direction by learning about goals, time management, and finding their purpose to start with, and flowing into the main course, which flows into the main course to learn how to create and preserve wealth by working together as teams within a God-centered purpose of love and unity. They will learn that it is profitable to work together, generation after generation. The white supremacist special committee member made the statement, I really believe in what we are attempting for the whole country. But let's be realistic. What would you do if, at the end of your first term in office, and black activists who are against helping the black community, even though they say they are, because if you succeed, they would not have anything to march about. Suppose this person convinces those like him that you haven't done anything to help them. First of all, we can make this problem available to the community immediately, the president said. But would you get frustrated and tell them that stupid is a choice too, like I've been saying all along? What will you say to black people because you will need their vote for 4 more years? Like I said, I will make the program available immediately and promote it through progressive-minded individuals, community forums, house parties, and 21st century spiritual movements that wants to stop just taking and a way to start giving back. Once they see the change and the income that can be generated, the program will take off and change will begin to occur. Like an underground movement exploding into mainstream black America through its spiritual institutions.